good evening and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name's Rodney.
My name is Zach.
Nearly said my name's been Rodney, but we're at the start of the show, not the end, Rod. Wake up, mate.
Yeah, we've got a whole show in front of us. Get excited.
Yeah, a whole show to do about the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the last race of the Abu Dhabi race. It's the last race of the 2019 season, which means it's the last time for all of these things that we're going to do. I'm going to intro the race. We're going to do a race review, talk through our notes, going to have a fantasy league recap, got a quiz coming up later, and a few other surprises. So, Zach, how's your week been, first of all?
Oh, it's been so good. A bit busy though. That's why I think the scheduling's been difficult over these last few races of the season. But I'm like, oh, it's gone now. That's it. Yeah. All the things, all the races are gone. It flew by. If it's one consolation, we got to see what's been happening in testing. And what I know from testing is that George Russell in the Williams was faster. So lock it in. 2020 championship deciders, constructors champions Williams. Congratulations to all involved. No need to actually run the year because Williams are going to win according to early pre-season testing. Yeah, it's post-pre-season testing.
Yeah.
Post-season, pre-season.
Well, we should get into this week's show, Zach, and that means it's time to talk about Abu Dhabi. That's right. A to the B to the Derby. Yeah. And it's just north of Oman. And oh man, when F1 comes to town, you better get ready to party. So do you buy some good tickets to the show and spend all your dough, huh? Read my lips. It'll be worth it. Just Q8 and see. 16 turns twist around the features like a theme park, a water park, hotels, and residential areas. Rev up those engines. Let's wake up the locals and abound to Abu Dhabi, baby.
I think you got a lot of references in there. That was maybe best for references.
Yeah, most for references. Sure is.
Maybe we should run a poll on the best ones for the season. Or we talked about supercuts last race. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should have a supercut of all your intros and I will then print them out or put them on a cassette and send them to Mr. Croft and say, look, here's how they should be done.
Here's how you do it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I was thinking as I was writing this might be the last one that I do. And I was like, but do I want to do them again next year? And then I was like, I'll come up with some other silly thing that I want to do next year. Don't ever worry about it.
We review the format every year.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but it's kind of true. There's always something either new that we've added or everything that we've taken away. That tends to be what we do.
Yeah. We'll eventually come back around to the original format, which was me and you talking to our iPhones about the race.
Probably true. Now, we should probably just do that one day just for fun, eh? Before we get into the race notes, I just wanted to actually give a shout out and a thank you to the host of the Strategy Report, Michael Lemonado, for having me on this week to talk about the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We recorded it a few days ago. It's gone out now. So if you haven't heard it, time to hit that podcast subscribe button and get that episode that I was on, because we were both very sleep deprived. I'd worked all day, feeling a little bit unwell, and it was really out there. It always gets a bit loose when I'm in there, probably looser than when he has other more professional people on. But this one, extra loose.
When people call you and I in to do things about Formula One, it's like, that we're just we're punters, right? We're just people. We're fans. Yes. We're not experts in any way, shape, or form.
We're not experts. We just play one on TV.
Yes, exactly. So, if we were on the plane and the pilot ever needed an F1 expert, our friends would nudge us and be like, you, and be like, no, we aren't that. Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
I could do
just play one on TV.
a podcast about how the plane went down.
Yeah. Should we get into this race?
Let's get into the race.
Let us race a bit. I gave him space.
Sack my balls, mate.
Let's hurry up and get out of here. We got a race to do.
Mixed opinion, Zach. Divisive race, whether it was exciting or dead boring. I guess we're all going to find out what happens in the wash when we get into this week's 30-second recap, which is, it's my turn to do it in the rotation. So I guess we're going to find out whether this was an action-packed race or one with just a few talking points. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. I can't wait for you to get through the 2 talking points.
Here we go. Believe it or not, the entire Abu Dhabi Grand Prix wrapped up in just 30 seconds. Here we go. it feels like it's been a little while since we had a Lewis Hamilton win. Lights to flag, ultra dominance, Mr. Dominance delivering in Dominance Town. That was what happened in Abu Dhabi. Lewis Hamilton walked away with a grand slam behind him, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Was he going to get disqualified? No, that was never going to happen because he's in a Ferrari. The only excitement really was in the last couple of laps where we had Perez, Ricciardo, and Sainz overtaking for points. Points, please. Yummy, yummy points. Give them to me.
Well, it's been a good season. Thank you so much for doing a podcast with me every couple of weeks, and I think we could probably just call it there, right?
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that we're not friends anymore.
Oh.
I thought you were just shutting it all down. Is that not what was going on?
No, I was just going to say that we could finish the podcast because that was everything.
Oh,
that was a very calm review.
Whew. Thanks. Oh, goodness. Oh, man, I was worried there for a second. I really thought that was like, we're having the conversation, like, and it's not going the way I always thought it would.
Yeah, look, we've got, when I slacked you earlier today, I was like, look, I think we need to talk. You just thought it was going to be the podcast, and this is the public place of which I'm going to dump you.
Yeah.
No,
I was thinking,
never.
Yeah, we had a good run.
Yeah, no, not like that. I mean, come on, Hamilton lights the flag. He got off the line, and then they didn't turn DRS on for ages because there was something wrong with it. And then that was it.
Yeah, there was a server crash or something, which you think they'd have a backup one, or I don't even know. But no DRS for a little while, which meant folks like Bottas who were starting from the back, or even just people who pitted early because the pit window was like lap 12 or something. And, poor old those people, because overtaking was not as easy as normal. So the ideal strategy was to go as long as you could, which a few people did. Hamilton did. Verstappen tried to, but Hamilton had him covered pretty easy. And that's why you see folks like Mr. Perez pulling long stints and doing really well.
Yeah, it was good for that reason. It just meant that no one could stay with the leader. I think that's one of the things that this showed me is the DRS early in the race. If you can stay relatively close to the leader at the first couple of laps, you're going to get DRS or something close to it. So there's an incentive. But then Hamilton was just off down the road, and suddenly it was like 13 seconds in front after 15 laps or something. Some horrendously there was no way anybody was catching him at that point without, and the car could brake, which it wasn't going to brake because he was in clean air in Abu Dhabi at night, so everything was going to be fine. Like, Mercedes are so good at this track.
They are.
It's unbelievable. So, yeah, at that point, it was like, well, what else can we look at? And luckily, Max Verstappen, the little needler, the future of the sport, got to race against the guy who he will be racing probably for the next 10 years at least, Charles Leclerc, and they were trading places. They were respectful-ish. So yeah, I thought that was really nice, and I just love how fast the Ferrari can be when it gets in a straight line. It's like, I'm just going to drive right around you. We saw it later with Vettel overtaking Albon later in the race, just basically on just face value, sheer engine quickness. The Ferrari has the Honda in spades, but for racecraft, I think Verstappen has almost everybody beat. So it does make the ongoing Red Bull Ferrari battles, especially Verstappen and Leclerc, over the coming season, as long as they're even, and into the new formula in 2021, absolutely delectable.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you can see during qualifying that there's a speed differential, and then you still see overtakes on the first couple of laps because you're like, wait a second, that guy should be faster than you. And I mean, sometimes cars with different characteristics are faster in certain sectors or in certain parts of the track, and they have an opportunity. We saw with the DRS being disengaged or not engaged is probably the better way to put it. Some old school racing where people had to pull really hairy overtakes by cutting chicanes and braking super late and locking up and all this weird stuff. And people who liked the old school racing and were dead against DRS were like, it was great. It was amazing. Keep it going. Cars that wouldn't normally have been bunched up suddenly got all bunched up because there was no easy overtaking. So, on the one hand, that was good, demonstration and a good case to be made for, let's not have DRS anymore. The problem is, there's all those other bad times where people's races are just ruined for absolutely no fault of their own because they can't get any aero and they can't overtake. So, I'm sorry people who want to see DRS gone. I don't think this is a great case for it overall, but we did actually, I think, get a little bit of good racing in the first phase, particularly Verstappen and Leclerc on the opening lap was really good. Later on, there was an overtake attempt by Leclerc, or I think Verstappen overtook him and then Leclerc tried to get him back, but Verstappen shut the door and it was just I don't know. It's just always good seeing those guys going wheel to wheel.
The problem with DRS, I think, in this, what they showed for DRS, just to come back to it, was that it's not a little bit of whipped cream on the top of your gingerbread spiced latte right now. It's not a little addition. It's kind of like part of the main recipe. Like it's needed, unfortunately. Like it's a really key part to racing. Like the cars are built with it in mind. The racing is defined by it. It's no longer just this little bit of extra, which is maybe a shame, and it's going to make it really difficult to. I don't think we're going to get rid of it. I think this will be around for a really long time because it makes the racing, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they're talking about the 2021 regulations potentially bringing so much aero back that it could become a feasibility that we get rid of it. Probably not straight away, but eventually. They're at least opening the door to say, let's reevaluate. And if we can get rid of it, we will. But I still think it'll be around in one form or another. What they probably want to do is actually just adjust the length of time that you get it, or even the degree that the flap could open, something like that, to just say, okay, now you can only open it to 50% of what you used to be able to, or something. But I think we're a long way away from being able to get rid of it altogether. But yeah, it came back into the race. All of a sudden, people who were blocked could unlock themselves and start chasing down whoever they were chasing down. There was I feel like the start of this race was pretty decent. Not great, but decent. And then the end was really good. But in the middle, there's just this big lull. And I think this is why everyone's calling this race a real snooze fest, because I've got a note here that I just wrote that it was sort of like at the Christmas party when it's just boring in the middle of the night and everyone's just hanging out in the kitchen waiting for the 80s music to come on so they can go dancing again. I just think there's so many F1 races that are like this, and this was no exception.
Yeah, everyone just goes into like conserve mode, waiting for the trigger of somebody else to do something, and then you get aggressive teams who are like, well, we're going to run our strategy and let everybody else work it out. It's almost like at the start of the race, everything gets thrown in the air, and then you spend the next 40 laps waiting for things to settle, and then you make your second move. It's a bit of a problem, especially at the more modern tracks. At the older tracks, I think that maybe it's not as bad. Take Monaco out of it, maybe. But yeah, this track has everything about it this is the one, right? That Hermann Tilke took all the best things from other racetracks and made this really great racetrack that there's never any good racing at. Very weird.
Mm-hmm. It's Tilke designed, yeah. I'm not sure if this is the one where he took all I think that's maybe Kota, but yeah, that might be Kota. He designed it around, I don't know, all the stuff that was there. It's very important that they have a water park there, and he has to get people to drive around it, I suppose. Not known for being a great track for overtaking, that's all. But, I don't know. I mean, I think that if you were really paying attention and being super switched on, you would notice, these guys are changing strategy. That sets us up for a bit of an interesting, end of the race. But it's hard to get excited about that in the middle of the race, in the moment. It's actually hard to, I don't know, it doesn't really whet your appetite the way seeing a driver closing down a huge gap does. I think Bottas was closing down on Leclerc. That was exciting because once that started to happen, you start to see the lap times or the differential drop. That was exciting. And then really all the moves were at the last lap or two, with the first one in terms of, the top six kind of sorted itself out. Then we had Mr. Perez overtaking Lando Norris for P6. And that gave him enough points for 10th in the Drivers' Championship. Perez has been pretty anonymous this year, I reckon. And, he's finally finished best of the rest. I think he's got an okay result in that whole Formula 1.5 dealio. But I just feel like he hasn't really put in too many good performances this year in a car that just probably isn't there.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit of an all-set ran for him. But, I think maybe that's kind of his career, right? Where did Perez finish? He finished second in the Formula 1.5. Wow, it's a whole new website for Formula 1.5, which is definitely illegally branded with the Formula 1 branding. And the whole UX is that is absolutely terrific. F1.point5.com. Congratulations to those, all the correct fonts and everything like that there, with Sainz coming in as the number one, Perez, Norris, Ricciardo, and Hülkenberg in fifth. So, about where you would imagine everybody would be. But it does just kind of show the difference in quality between Chico Perez at 213 points and Lance Stroll at 139. Although everyone keeps saying Lance Stroll's really great. oh my God, he's the greatest.
Who says that?
But, well, people say that he was a really good racer before he just got kind of catapulted into F1 because of Rich Dad. #RichDad. But
I think people are saying that he has gotten better and developed into a more steady driver, but has he? Has he? What's he done that's been amazing? I can't.
No, there isn't
anyway,
anything.
We don't need
Don't
to.
worry about it.
This is
that's season recap stuff. Let's not talk about that.
Let's not jump the gun.
So, is there
anyway?
I mean, what else is there to say about this race? It was just kind of. It was good that we had a good end to it, right? That we had overtakes at the end with Norris, Perez, Ricciardo, kind of everybody, Sainz, everybody kind of going for stuff at the end, and everybody wanting those just little extra points because it does make all the difference, for the Constructors' Championship and for personal championships
and the
as well.
drivers, because as much as I wanted Hulkenberg to finish with some points in his last race, probably his last race, Sainz sneaking in for P10 means that he secures P6 as sixth place in the Drivers' Championship. So that's ahead of Albon and Gasly, both of which were one-time Red Bull drivers this year. I just think it's funny because, as someone pointed out, Sainz, Albon and Gasly are all like former Red Bull contenders, right? Albon, the current contender, but Gasly, knocked out of the Red Bull senior team. Sainz, a one-time contender who was traded away. So it's funny and ironic to see Sainz now finishing ahead of the other two on that list.
Yeah, I mean, Sainz is outstanding. I mean, they talked about it. Red Bull talked about it when he was there, and then when he went off to Renault, and everybody was like, "Yes, Sainz, he's the real future star." And I think he really is. I really hope that McLaren can continue to get these big gains, so we can really see the best of Sainz and Norris as well. That's the good news partnership, that everybody likes both of them, and we just really like the way everyone wants McLaren to be successful. So maybe stick a Mercedes engine in there, and we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. Maybe that's all there is to say from this race. So other than, thanks F1 for the racing, maybe we should just move on to the rest of the things that we have to get through this week. Next up is the fantasy recap. It's just the sweet, sweet fantasy, baby. Are we going to just have a look at the overall results? Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah, I think we should just do that because,
let's just cut to the chase.
Let's just cut to the chase. Rod, I feel like we should go bottoms up from third to second to first to keep the suspense. So why don't you go first, so then you get to announce the winner as well. So why don't you kick us off with third?
Okay. This is team number third. This is a podium finish for Lincoln, the Naughty Dog, a fan favorite, on 3,025 glorious points. A fantastic season, a regular top finisher. Lincoln, the Naughty Dog. Congratulations on making number 3.
Yeah, and a great podium finish in what was a hard-fought season. Well done.
Oh, so true. But it gets close between the top two.
Oh, yeah, so close. In second place, Scuderia Benetti from Racer Over and Out with 3,153 points. I mean, it was just stellar to get over 3,000, but into the 3,100s. I mean, it's a great look, it's a great name, it's a great performance, and a consistent performer as well. So congratulations, Scuderia Benetti.
But that means there can be only one. There can be only one winner on the top step of the fantastic, fabulous, flandiferous, flangle. My brain's gone a bit flip-flab. The winner of this year's inaugural Super License Fantasy Recap Focus is Hawkmoon Racing by James Ward on 3,193 points. Really, in the last few races, edged off the competition when the pressure was on and really delivered a solid performer all year, but really came through in the clutch. And huge congratulations from really everyone to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we know this is a strong field this year. There are a lot of top performers, and for Hawkmoon Racing to come out and James to come out on top, it's a stellar achievement. So all plaudits to you, all congratulations to you. I'm going to study the choices that you made through the season and see if I can improve my own team next year, because you beat me by almost 1,000 points.
Well, the good news for you is that points have reset to 0 because the season's over and we're all back on level pegging again, ready to chomp at the bit for next year. Zach, mate, how did we do by comparison? And more importantly, who out of the two of us is the glorious?
Well, the thing is, we're both in the 2,200s. So, as I said, about 1,000 points off the top. We are both mid-table at best. Rod, you finished with 2,276. I finished with 2,200. and 62, 14 points
Oh, my
shy.
goodness me.
You are the winner. I am the loser. I can't believe how close we are. We're a good match.
I'm doing
There's
the
no
maths in
number
my head.
one driver in
14
our team.
points. 14 measly points.
1-4.
Call it a draw. What's
Okay,
that?
that's very kind of you.
That's like 0.5% or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just call it even, mate.
I think, next year I'm going to really try, though.
Sure you
Watch
are,
out.
mate. Sure you are. Ooh, well, thanks to everyone who played fantasy, and best of luck to you all next week. Zach, are you ready to move on to predictions?
I guess?
Surprise! It's been a while since we said that. It's not the predictions that you might be thinking. Long-time listeners might be thinking, yeah, Super License predictions. What happened to that? Yeah, we 86'd it. But I have predictions of a different variety to recount you with. On the Facebook group at the start of the year, someone put forward this amazing post saying, who wants to put forward their bold predictions for the 2019 season? And I'd forgotten all about it until the other day when someone commented, hey, my prediction didn't come true. Then I realized, wait a second, we did make all these predictions as a group. There's about, 8 or 9. So I thought I would quickly run through them to see which predictions were close, which ones came true, and which ones not so close. What do you think about that?
I think this sounds amazing.
A little bit of fun for the last race. Okay. Someone predicted Williams would score a point. Well, we're off to a good start because Kubica scored the team's only point in that crazy German Grand Prix. So straight off the bat, boom, someone got a prediction
1 point,
right.
exact.
Next prediction, Kimi gets 4 podiums. Well, not really. His best finish was in P4 in Brazil, where he scored points there. He scored points in 9 different races, had a better first half of the year than a last half of the year, but no podiums for old mate Kimi. So that's a swing and a miss. The next one, Hulk will pop his podium cherry. Maybe he was in contention in Germany, but slid off and crashed out. Whoops, damn it. I found my prediction, which was that Ocon was going to join a midfield or back market team sometime after the summer break and drive for the rest of the year. Now, I reckon I was close here because it was announced that he was joining Renault in the middle of the year. He just didn't get to drive.
Okay, yeah.
Close, no cigar, but close.
Yeah, had a shout.
Yeah, okay, a couple more. McLaren will podium 5 times. Renault will win 3 races. Well, McLaren got 1 podium, and that was after a lot of very hard work. Renault, the less said, the better about Renault. The next one, Leclerc will outscore Bottas. Valtteri finished on 326 points. Charles finished on 264 points. Someone said that if you factor out all of the mistakes, like reliability problems or being hit by his teammate, for example, Leclerc would have actually led the championship going into the final round. So really makes you think. Don't know if that's true or not, but if it is...
That's F1. That's literally what the sport is.
There you go. I suppose so. The next prediction, Red Bull wins a race before Spain. This person was a little too specific because it took Max until Austria to win a race. But
so not too far off.
They did win, but yeah, next time just be a little more vague with your predictions. Next one, after 3 races, Leclerc dominates Vettel, who then announces his retirement. Well, no retirement that we know of. No, exactly. It's pretty clear who dominated, and it didn't take 3 races. It was more or less from the first race, but no retirement has been publicly made. So let's just, I'll give you a point for that one. And the last prediction that came from the group was Honda engines proved to be unreliable and insufficiently fast. At certain tracks they were off the pace, but they were not particularly unreliable and generally pretty quick. So, unfortunately for you, but fortunately for Red Bull, that prediction was wrong. So yeah, that was predictions for another week.
Thank goodness. I can't wait to have that come back next week.
Well, we might do it again next year. Let's make it a yearly segment. I hate to think that it would go away forever, but let's make it a yearly thing.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I said that Charles Leclerc would win the championship or something as well. So next time.
The thing is, when you make a prediction, what you want to do is if you get it right, you want to remind everyone. If you get it wrong, you want to just forget about it and move on. But speaking of moving on, Zach, have you got a super quiz for me?
I do, mate. Let's do it.
Let's get around it.
We will accept a couple of questions. Should one only win one? Would one want to have won that one in round 1?
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, Rod, are you ready for the Nico So Closenberg quiz?
Let me start thinking German and tufting my hair up. Yes, I'm ready.
The Nick Oh-So-Closenberg quiz, because, Nico Hülkenberg, you have so close to your life in Formula One, so close to podiums. Podia, I think is actually the word, podia.
Okay.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 questions, going to fire through these pretty quickly, because... somewhat surprisingly, there's actually not huge amounts of information about Nico Hülkenberg because, well, he hasn't done much. But first question, a bit of a fun one to get things off the ground. Cuddles in the kitchen. Almost the best hair in F1. Who is Nico Hülkenberg second to on the F1 grid for best hair?
Oh, subjective, but...
yes, definitely. Who do you think I would think has the best hair, I suppose, is the question.
Who else has got good hair? Hamilton? I don't know. Who's got good hair? This used to be Hülkenberg was always my go-to guy. I'm going to go Hamilton.
No, suck my balls, Kevin Magnussen. I think has the best hair. I think he's got a good... And it's because it's similar to Hülkenberg's as well. So they lose it. He loses out.
It's more helmety. It's more Lego Man lately.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay,
Question
granted.
number 2. Having won the 2015 Le Mans 24-hour race, he wasn't even our favourite driver on the podium. Who was our favourite driver on the podium in the 2015 Le Mans 24 hours?
Was Mark Webber on the podium?
It was Mark Webber. Yes, he was. The Porsche, he was in the number 2 Porsche, well, not the number 2, but the Porsche, the one that wasn't supposed to win and didn't, became second and surprised even Mark Webber. But he was on the podium. So, Nico Hülkenberg, you weren't even our favourite driver on the 2015 Le Mans 24-hour podium.
Man,
what a shame.
He got to do?
I know. Well, this is therein lies the quiz. There was one race where 3 Nicks raced. But of course, Hülkenberg didn't even emerge the best of the Nicks on that day. Who were the other 2 Nicks in that Formula One race?
Are we going Nicks or Nicos?
They are counted together.
Okay, so I go Nico Rosberg.
Mm-hmm. Is one
Was
of them,
there
yes.
Nick Heidfeld?
Yes, there was a Nick Heidfeld. Nico Rosberg.
Tell me more about this amazing race.
So I should pull up all the details, but I'm just going to give you some small ones. So Nico Rosberg was doing very well that season, so there was no chance that Hülkenberg on a normal day would be better than him. And Nick Heidfeld had been brought into, I can't remember which team, he'd been brought in the race earlier, so we're halfway through the season. He'd a bit of a ring in, I think for Vitaly Petrov, I want to say, something like that. But Rosberg retired in this race. So it was like, oh, here's Hülkenberg's shot. But Heidfeld finished in 8th and Hülkenberg finished in 9th. So he was beaten by 1 by Nick Heidfeld. In the one time he could have been the best of the Nicks, best of 3 Nicks, he was in fact the second best of the 3 Nicks. So bad luck to Nico Hülkenberg.
Oh boy. Man.
Okay,
well,
Rod,
yeah.
last question. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hülkenberg finished his first and seemingly last seasons in the same F1 position. Which position did he finish both his first and seemingly last F1 race?
P11.
It is in fact P14. But I think that's been changed now, and I think he has finished I think he's been classed as P12. So my question is no longer correct as when I wrote it.
Oh, well.
So don't worry about that. But a little tip for you is that he finished outside the points in his first and last races, which is...
There you go.
Look, that's him, right? That's
So
him
wait
to
a second. So in his first race he finished P14?
Yeah.
And his last race he finished P12?
Yes.
Yeah, well... I mean, it kind of just shows a lack of progression.
A real lack of progression.
A career.
There. I mean,
There's
it's a
not much
shame
of an
because we
arc to
like
that
him,
career.
but there's just nothing to him.
There's
I was reading through
nothing
his
not to
history,
like,
right?
But
He won like everything before he got into Formula One. He was the best, easily the best. Like, he won like his career is just littered with firsts until he gets to Formula One, and he's just never been at the right team ever. He never made the jump to one of the best teams. Like everybody around him, like Rosberg, Hamilton, all the other guys, even Ricciardo, like all the other guys who were like, hey, I'm gonna do something with my career, like all got somewhere where they had chances of winning races, and Hülkenberg, a bit like Romain Grosjean, really, was just never there. Never there at the best time.
You know, this is harsh, but sometimes I feel like I look at him talk and I'm just not sure there's anything going on behind those eyes. Just sort of, I'm sure he's got a great instinct for racing, but I'm just not sure he has that dynamic, fierce quality that the best drivers have, right? And I mean, the interesting thing is that he said, I don't want to go and be a test driver or some garbage like that. So we'll see him in other racing formulas. And I mean, hopefully, if he goes to Formula E or DTM or something, we might actually see the best of him in some kind of lower category. And that would be nice to see him
he could go
enjoy some success.
He could go race for like a Porsche or a Mercedes, or like just pick a German car brand that's in Formula E, and he could. There is no doubt that he will be a world champion there. Or like he could. Why doesn't he just go do Le Mans every year now for whoever? And he could definitely be a great addition to any team, I would argue. So, that's my personal goodbye to Nico Hülkenberg. I mean, people are saying, just because he doesn't have a drive next year doesn't mean he's never going to race in Formula One again. I was like, well, yes, technically the truth, but. Also, if you leave him, if he's out of the sport for a season, also, who would pick him up?
I feel like we went through last week a whole bunch of names of people who have been and gone, and all of those guys might come back too. So let's put him in that list. I mean, Roberto Mehi might come back, and Hülkenberg might come back.
Sergei Sorokin, will he ever make it back?
Yeah, Sergei Sorokin may come back, and Hülkenberg may come back. Rio Horiente may come back. And
look, if he doesn't want to be, this is the problem. If he doesn't want to be a test driver, there is no way back. If you're not in someone's stable, you don't get pulled up. At least Pascal Wehrlein is a test driver for Mercedes. There are test drivers around. That's how Kvyat, he stayed in the game. He was Ferrari test driver. He's in the game. Ocon, test driver for Mercedes, in the game. Everybody's in the game. If you're not in the game, you're out.
Yeah. And, I don't know. Maybe it's time to get really good at e-racing or something. Just go and do that.
Yeah. Maybe I should get really good at e-racing.
Me too. Or just any kind of racing or any kind of E. Zach, it's time to move on to final thoughts, where we wrap up the show with just a last thought, a last thing that's kicking around in our brain, the last chance for us to get something out of our system while we can, something that we've thought of during the race, during the week, during the season, I guess, to deliver our final thoughts. Zach, do you have anything on the table?
I'm kind of glad that the season is having a break now, because in Australia, the only sport that Formula One would be competing with over the break, over the Christmas break, let's call it, summer break in Australia, would be cricket, right? And I love myself some cricket. Oh, by golly, do I love some cricket. And that was a sport that I've got two final thoughts. This gets me into the first one, which is that cricket, a sport that is played over a vast period of time, up to 5 days in Test cricket, but every ball is a piece of action, right? It's a bit like baseball. Every ball, something's happening. So regardless of the duration, and there's levels of things happening, there's the overall tactics of the team, like the bowling, the bowlers, doing their first stint, and there's the tactics of an over, let alone the whole session, let alone the whole day, let alone the whole 5 days. Whereas Formula One, if it's missing that kind of action lap by lap, it does start to I start to question, is it that enjoyable? Because the strategic element is difficult. It doesn't really bear itself out very well whilst watching. And so maybe we're missing something there that I think the sport could build on. So that's my first thought. And my second thought is, thank God Formula One isn't on over the next period, because if you follow other sports during the winter, especially winter sports, there are so many of them happening all at once over Christmas that it's difficult. I needed 3 screens on Sunday to watch all the sports that I wanted to watch all at once. And so it was hard work deciding who was going to be on the big screen, who was going to be on the iPad, who was going to be on the laptop. Formula One stayed on the big screen, thankfully, because it's a big screen sport. But thank goodness we're having a bit of a break, because I can't follow everything at once, man.
Yeah, I think I've related before my attempts to watch cricket, listen to a podcast, and read a book all at once, and now my brain almost killed itself. Just, that's not good. You got to give yourself a break. You
do.
Everyone's right on the brink of pushing into 22 races per season, and then 24, 25 is on the horizon as a possibility. We're all going to need breaks, and unless we can clone ourselves, we're going to have to just be kind to each other and just take it easy, guys. So don't forget to have yourself a terrific break. We are not going to necessarily jump straight into a break. We are ramping up for a end of season show with the usual guests. Spoke to them the other day about it. Plans are coming together. You probably know who it is, but yeah, I look forward to that coming into your podcast feed in the next couple of weeks, where we, really bring the season home with something a little bit special, relaxed, fun, different, out of the ordinary, and yet the same thing we usually do. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at too. Not necessarily glad that there's no more F1, but certainly glad for a break. And my final thought would just be, if this is where everyone else is jumping off and having a good break, I mean, Christmas party season is happening. We're amongst it. Hope everyone has a great festive season, great end of year, and oh boy, before you know it, I think someone said we're double digits days away from Australia. So Wait, it's a break.
Is that all?
But it's not really. It's not really a break. It's less than 100 days until Australia. So
I'm coming back in March, and back to Melbourne, and I was booking my flights, and I was like, man, this is ages away. And then I was like, oh, actually, no, it's
not
really
far away at
not.
all.
March is not very far away. Ugh, yuck. Don't say
I
that.
was texting to someone the other day about F1 and other sports that have an off season of 4 or 5 months, and they're like, yeah, wow, imagine having a sport where there's only a 1 month off season. Incredible. You're back into it in January so that you can hit the ground running in February for testing to race in March. You've got to love this sport, but it really does challenge you. So yeah, everyone make sure that while we have an off season, put your feet up and get some rest, eat some burgers, drink some beers, and just do whatever you find fun, because the season will be back here before you know it.
So that's it. I'm going to echo your thoughts. Have a great, merry season, whichever way you like to spend time, but spend it with people that you really like and even love.
Yeah.
Even the ones you love, if you can find them around. Hang out with those people too.
And if you don't love anyone, find someone and go in love with them.
Yeah. And give people a chance that you like. If you just like them, maybe that will turn into love.
Yeah. And if they love you, just be open to that and respect it.
Yeah.
And
eat all the chocolate, though.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Just eat all the chocolate, though.
Hide the chocolate and eat it.
And look, if you
especially
haven't
the
had
chocolate that you
eggnog,
love.
Google how to make eggnog and make it, because it's good when you make it. It's delicious.
Good tip. Well, anyway, I think that's all we've got for you this week. We're going to have an end-of-season show coming up very soon, but until then, my name's been Rodney.
My name's been Zach.
We'll talk to you on the flip side. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.